Good afternoon, Grace family. Coming at you Wednesday afternoon. Just freshed up a new pot of coffee for myself here because I'm hitting my second bout of the day. Spent some time today at the school working with the students there, which is always fun. And so now we're getting ready to take a look at Ecclesiastes before I dive back into Hosea for studying for tonight. But excited about doing Ecclesiastes, and it's been a little bit since we've done Ecclesiastes. Some of you who watch the daily live stream also have been with us on Wednesday nights, and we did Ecclesiastes, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. We did the book of Ecclesiastes, and I really enjoyed going through it then, and I'm excited to go through it again in a more brief way with you today and over the next couple of days. So the Ecclesiastes is one of those books that, as you get in, you're like, what is the purpose of this book? Why did God include this in the canon? And I think it's an interesting book, and you'll see what I mean as we get in. Ecclesiastes is found in the wisdom literature of the Jewish canon. Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Lamentations, those kind of books are all kind of compiled together as considered wisdom literature. And so the writer itself, we'll get into this a little bit more as we read through chapter 1. The writer, in a sense, is trying to give you the indication that it's Solomon. There is much debate on whether or not it is in fact Solomon. Some people say, yes, it is Solomon. Other people say, no, it's a writer that's trying to give you the indication that he might be Solomon, but he's not actually. And so there's much debate about that. Two great commentaries that I would highly recommend. I'm certainly willing to lend my library to you if it's needed. Is the book of Ecclesiastes. This one's by Tremper Longman III, really great Old Testament scholar. Does a great work specifically in Ecclesiastes. And also more recently, I think this one was in 2018, but Craig Bartholomew actually wrote a pretty thick tome on Ecclesiastes. Really great one as well. It's part of the Baker commentary set. And Tremper Longman edited this one. And then I have 3 or 4 other commentaries that I consult on Ecclesiastes, but those 2 are the ones that I've really enjoyed reading through and really been benefiting from. So anyways, I want to give you a little bit of that framework to start as we kind of get into the text. Again, this is wisdom literature, similar to Proverbs, similar to what we might find in some of the Psalms, and we have to interpret it as such, not as prophetic literature as some of the rest of it would be, for instance, Hosea or Joel or other books like that. But let's go ahead and read through it together, chapter 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does a man gain by the toil of which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and it goes around to the north. Around and around goes the winds, and on its circuits the winds return. All streams run into the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, where they flow again. All things are a weariness, and the man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new? It has been already in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of the later things, yet to be among those who come after. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I apply my heart to seek out and search wisdom, but by wisdom, all that is done under the earth. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun. Behold, it is all vanity. It's a striving after the wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me. And my heart has great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive this also is but a striving after the wind. For in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. So as you can see, the beginning of the book, as it kind of asserts, we have the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Now, what's interesting is that the author of the book does not say Solomon. Could have said Solomon. and we would have known that to be Solomon. And so it's interesting. In fact, throughout the text, we're going to kind of get multiple indications that this is not Solomon, but instead Kohelet, which is the word preacher, Kohelet in Hebrew, which just means teacher. It appears to be Solomon, but it also appears not to be Solomon. The viewpoint of both authors are in congruence. They both agree specifically that it's not Solomon. However, I have other commentaries that say it is. And so, there's some debate there on that. In terms of what is being said, though, it's very interesting because when you look, it says the words of the preacher, declares who that is, and then it gives some words of him. And then from here, I, the preacher, have been king over Israel. So the person who either wrote verses 1 through 11 is different, or it's the same, and the person is saying, that's one preacher, here's another preacher. And so there seems to be some lack of congruency in the Hebrew here. But either way, what's being said here is very interesting. And so the core thesis and theme of the book of Ecclesiastes is vanity of vanities, all is vanity. That is the theme of the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, this theme is something that might seem kind of odd, and something we have to understand is vanity is saying basically it's meaningless. It's chasing after the wind. That something that you attempt to grasp, but then you don't really have hold of it. A vanity is not necessarily being vain and, oh, look how beautiful I am. It's more of the idea of that it's something that you can never acquire something. It's like grasping at that air or grasping at a vapor. You just can't seem to hold it. And so the idea here is that all is a chasing after the wind. All is running around, not able to find what you're looking for. And so the viewpoint of the author ultimately is that in my pursuit of wisdom, I have found that everything is vanity. And ultimately, the programmatic question of the entire book rests on verse 3. What does man gain by all the toil to which he toils under the sun? What is the value of everything we do here on earth? What is the value of everything we do and every action that we take, everything that we pursue? What is the value? What do we gain by all of that? And so we see specifically, and I'm looking down at my Bible. I have all my notes in my Bible. And what's something that is named as vanity, it's Hebel. Hebel is the Hebrew word. And the idea here is something enigmatic, something that can't be grasped or controlled, like I was said, like a wind. And so we then see Koheleth, the preacher, the teacher, here specifically in verses 4 and following, kind of gives us this picture of, okay, generation goes, generation comes, but the earth remains forever. And then he begins to describe how this earth remains forever. Verse 5 and 6 and 7 describes cycles of the earth. And the fact that the sun rises, the sun goes down, and the wind blows to the south, and it goes to the north, and all around the wind, on its circuits, the wind returns. This also gives us a spherical, global understanding of the earth, a global path, which is very interesting. Verse 7, again, we get this kind of the cycle of the water, something that they understood then as well, although maybe not to the graphic detail that we do now. And then 7 and 8 also gives us this idea of never complete, that there's never this completeness or satisfaction, that all things are full of weariness. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing. The ear is not filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There's nothing new under the sun. And so this idea of that there's just this continual, the same thing over and over again. This is the cause of life. And so ultimately this brings the Koheleth, the preacher, down to the point where ultimately he goes to the point of saying, look, there's nothing new. Whatever has been, it was been already, which I hear all the time in fashion especially, right? If just hold on to something for a little bit and you'll see it come back into fashion again, although maybe slightly altered. But there's this idea of that there's people saying, oh, look at this new thing, but there's no remembrance of the things that were new 5 minutes ago. And I think that's kind of the idea that we see in society all around us. And Koheleth is pointing that out, the preacher here. Verse 12 then says, I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I applied my heart to seek and search out wisdom under. That's all that's done under heaven. And now that's key here. That the preacher is only seeking for wisdom under what's done under heaven, because those are the only things that we can observe. And so part of what's important to understand about the book is the part of the book is that, look, without divine revelation, here's what we can acquire. Here's what we can understand. Here's what we can know. And so ultimately, he concludes, he kind of provides you his premise of where he's going to end. It's an unhappy business that God has given to the children of men to be busy with. That what we have to do is unhappy. It is unpleasurable. It is miserable. Everything that's done under the sun, everything is a vanity. It's hebel. It's meaningless. It's enigmatic. It cannot be able to be grasped or controlled, and it's a striving after the wind. And so he says in verse 15, what is crooked cannot be made straight. What is lacking cannot be counted. The idea being what's not there is not there. What's broken can't be fixed. And these things, this is the nature of things. And so we continue to strive after it, but yet it's meaningless. Verse 16, I have said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who are in Jerusalem before me. And my heart has experienced wisdom and knowledge, and I applied my heart to know wisdom, to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is but a striving after the wind. So even the pursuing of wisdom and desiring to know all the things that you possibly can, and even to know madness and folly, to know the opposite, both of those things is just vanity. It's a striving after the wind. It's hebel. It's meaningless. He says, because ultimately in verse 18, in much wisdom is much vexation. He who increases knowledge increases sorrow. The more that you know, the worse that it is. And the more that you understand, the worse that you see it as a vexation to your soul of like, why? Why am I doing this? What's the meaning? What's the value? What's the purpose? And this is where the author is and where they want you to begin. There's this sense of hopelessness and meaningless. And it's kind of odd to find this in the course of Scripture, but this is exactly what we get when we pursue worldly wisdom. Pursue wisdom that's derived from the world. What do we get? What is all this for? What's the vanity of it? What's the purpose of it? It's an unhappy business that we've been given. And so that is where the preacher starts with his audience. Now what's going to happen is he's going to ultimately come to a conclusion at the end of the book. And you'll see that if you stick with us and keep reading through the chapters with us, you're going to see the conclusion of the book. And what's interesting is conclusion is very, very interesting. And it's exciting because it points to, again, a need for a Savior, a need for Christ, and a need ultimately for the resurrection of the life that is to come, that God is preparing in advance for those who love and trust Him and have obeyed the Son and love the Son and look forward to His appearing. So that's where we're going to be going. Really looking forward to diving into this book with you some more. And I'll see you tomorrow as we do chapter 2. God bless you all. Have a great Wednesday night. Hopefully to see many of you out tonight. At the Wednesday night service, we're going to be doing Hosea chapter 12, probably 13, and we're going to hope to finish the book probably by next week. So God bless you all. Take care.